Hello, everyone. Welcome. Good evening or good morning, depending on where you are. Thanks so much for joining this session to learn about our Curriculum Instruction Science of Learning PhD program. My name is Renowned Arif, and I work here in the Graduate School of Education Admissions Office. And presenting this session today, we have faculty member Dr. Ryan Risch, and we also have a co-faculty director, Dr. Chris Hoadley here as well. I'll go ahead and pass it over to Dr. Risch.
Thank you, and welcome everyone. We're excited that you are here and interested in our program. Chris and I are currently the co-directors of the Curriculum Instruction and Science of Learning PhD. I'll be rolling off in the spring, and Mary McVie will be taking my place. I think our goal is tonight is just to kind of walk you through the program and then answer any questions that you might have. So just in ways of an introduction, the grad school at UB and Department of Learning Instruction support this PhD program, and it's really committed to creating an inclusive learning environment where diverse perspectives are recognized, respected, and seen as a source of strength. And the way this shows up is kind of in our recruiting, we actively look for students who can not only complement, but also challenge the current perspectives we have in the program and lead us to new and exciting research avenues. And so we just want to affirm our commitment to creating a positive and welcoming inclusive environment that embraces diversity and strives to eliminate barriers. And, full participation, a basis of race, gender identity, sex, sexual orientation, religion, disability, veteran status for students, faculty, and staff. And so you'll see throughout the program, there's an emphasis on these themes. This is our department mission. It's also on our website, and it reaffirms some of those same commitments. And I would say that the PhD program is oriented towards P16 education system broadly here in the US, but it's not limited to that. We have people doing research within the program in international contexts. We have people doing research in informal context as well. And so even though we are a department of teaching and learning, and it's primarily oriented towards institutions, formal institutions such as schools, we're definitely interested in learning in informal spaces and transnational spaces beyond the walls of a school building. And so this is just our program mission here. There's an emphasis on multidisciplinarity or working across disciplines. And so we recognize that any one discipline doesn't necessarily have all of the answers. And so that we complement one another when we work across our disciplinary silos to approach research problems from different perspectives. And, that's really the goal, is to bring in diverse perspectives and diverse disciplines to come up with new solutions to persistent problems. And so we encourage folks to come study with us and really create your own customized program to meet your research and career interests and needs. You'll see these concentrations that we have, such as elementary education, English education, which is English and language arts in the United States, math ed, reading ed, and science education. But there's also this larger umbrella of the science of learning. And that's really the focus of where these kind of diverse perspectives kind of come together. So even though that we have these traditional kind of areas, that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to fit in any one of those boxes to come study with us. And Chris, feel free to interrupt me too and jump in.
Will do. Sorry, I had a brief technical glitch.
No problem. You and we didn't work out who's going to talk when, so you can just interrupt me when gaps need to be filled. So and this slide just talks about what students can expect to do in our program. Early in your coursework, you're going to develop foundational knowledge in some of these disciplines, such as curriculum and instruction and the science of learning, and learn your methodologies, both qual, quant, and mixed, for pursuing your research interests. And then gradually, we're going to, throughout your coursework, but then towards the end of your coursework, we're going to lead you to independence to conduct your own research. And so you have a lot of guided practice within the structure of the program through the methods courses and through the research component we'll talk about. But then towards the end, we want to, where we acknowledge that you're a doctoral candidate is when you're successfully proven that you can conduct your own research. And that's ultimately what we're preparing you to do. So there's a lot of different roles that you kind of take up in this process, as leaders who transform scholarship, and towards some of these goals that we talked about, innovation and pluralism of perspective. And there's also a professionalization aspect to this. I would say that some, or maybe most, but not all, of students who come to our program have aspirations of becoming career researchers. And so part of what we do is apprentice you to that profession and engage you in those types of activities so that you can know what the life of a research professor is all about, and be prepared to step into that role competitively at the end of the program. So just as an overview for the presentation tonight, we'll talk about the application process and the program stages, kind of an overview of the requirements, tips for getting started, kind of planning suggestions for what you can kind of expect as a doctoral student. And then at the end, we'll open it up to your questions and answers, or we'll provide the answers to your questions. So these are the application requirements. They're also on our CISL website, and I believe you're going to get copies of these slides so that you can click on these links. But we're interested in checking out your resume or CV. Don't worry too much on the format of that. We're just largely trying to get an understanding of your education trajectory and your experiences and where those experiences were and who they involved. Like I said, we're both interested in people who have school-based experiences, but also like community-based experiences we value as well. And so I would include as much as you can to give us a full picture of yourself on your CV. The statement of interest is a place where we get to know you as a researcher. And here, this is often an area of kind of anxiety for people writing these because it's kind of an unfamiliar genre, and we can provide samples for you too. But really what we're looking for here is some of your interests so that we can pair you with potentially pair you with faculty members here. Ideally, you would be paired with a mentor who shares your research interests, maybe not specifically, but maybe in terms of context or method or approach or the research question that you're wrestling with. And that's what we're trying to do, is this kind of matchmaking process through your statement of interests. Sample of academic. Oh, go ahead, Chris.
I was just going to say, and one thing that is part of the application forms, there is a place where you can indicate the names of faculty in particular that you might want to work with. That's not required, but it is recommended. And so much more so than the coursework, a lot of your doctoral program is shaped by the people you work most closely with. So it's a really good idea to spend some time sort of looking at the CISL program faculty on the program website and see if any of their work sort of resonates with you or seems like the kind of thing that you would do. Again, if you are not familiar enough with the faculty, or if there are too many choices to list them all in the form, you don't have to list. You're not required to define who your advisor might be ahead of time. But it is one other opportunity for you to indicate if there are people whose work resonates with you, whether you would be interested in working with certain faculty.
And then also we're interested in seeing a sample of your writing. And I think this is another place that folks can get anxious about. it's just to give us a sense of kind of where you are developmentally in terms of your writing. We don't expect you to be like writing like a career researcher when you're applying. Part of the apprenticeship process is learning how to write, in these scholarly genres. And so it's just an opportunity for us to get to know you in terms of some things that you've done in the past and how you've written them up for different audiences. And so that could be for a research audience, it could be for a practitioner audience, it could be for your master's program, or something like that. But we're just trying to get a sense of you as an applicant through your writing. And I would also say that international students in particular, where English is their second language, there's some anxiety that comes along with performing it, in writing and that kind of thing. And this is something that we're very familiar working with international PhD students, and it's part of the mentorship process. And so we have a lot of empathy and amazement at anyone who can do a PhD in a second language. And so you'll just find a lot of understanding and grace that's given around conventions of English for international, students who are completing a graduate degree in their second language or third language. And then just, we're also interested in seeing your transcripts. And again, that's just kind of to get a sense of your, your trajectory coming into the program, and then looking for some references and contact information for people who can serve as your reference, or as a reference. And then there's also an application fee, but I believe we have some processes for waivers for folks that are who experience financial hardship. And this laundry list is kind of like a big, it's kind of overwhelming. It's not exhaustive either. It's just a snapshot, I would say, a moment in time when we kind of grabbed what courses were being offered and listed them, looks like in numeric order, which doesn't make much sense when you think about what these classes are. The big thing to pay attention here is that there's two types of courses. There's research courses that prepare you to explicitly prepare you in learning methods and methodologies for conducting research, as well as orienting you to different areas of research. And then there's concentration courses that can focus on, the literature of a particular discipline that you might be oriented to for pursuing your research interests. However, we have a lot of cases where some of these courses can be counted in either category. So a good example is someone takes a course on the research on writing, and maybe they want to focus on learning that body of literature. And so that would fall into their concentration. But someone taking the same course could focus on the methods that are used in researching writing, and then that would be categorized as a research course for them. And so it's largely up to you and your advisor to decide which courses and what you are emphasizing when you're taking that course to decide which category those courses go in.
And the other great thing about our program is that because a lot of the coursework is by advisement, you can also expand that list to a lot of other courses across the university. So, if you are studying early childhood and you want some of your concentration courses to come from developmental psychology in the psych department, that's totally possible. And if you are doing nursing education and you see courses in the medical school that would be appropriate, that's also possible. The list, the STAR list is not comprehensive, is actually multiply this by 50 in terms of the other options all across campus.
And taking courses outside of our department opens you up to working with other faculty who may serve on your dissertation committee. So a good example is I have a current doctoral student who's interested in disability labels for emergent readers. And we don't have courses on disability and special education within our department. So he went to the disability studies program and studied under someone there, took a course with them, and then that person is now serving on their committee. So if we don't have the particular expertise within, these course offerings, like Chris is saying, across the university, you'll be able to find it. So these are our program stages. Typically in a PhD program, there's some kind of qualification or a qual or comp exam that falls after coursework before the dissertation phase. We've taken that qual or comp kind of stage and divided it into two. And so after about 18 to 24 hours, you will take what's called the research analysis exam, and you'll get a rehearsal of this in your coursework. You'll get a practice run at it. But really, this is designed to welcome you into the genre and the processes and procedures of critique. We do a lot of reviewing in our profession of peers' work. Blind review is kind of is part of the process of publishing. And so the research analysis exam is a way of orienting you and to that kind of activity. And so that's at stage one. Kind of the secret of the research analysis exam is that nobody really fails. It's not meant to be like a gatekeeping mechanism, but it is a chance for us to give some additional support and remediation. If a student doesn't meet the expectation of the research analysis exam, most typically they get an opportunity to revise it with some guidance. The second milestone in the program is typically completed near the end of coursework, and that is called the research component. And the research component can be a pilot for your dissertation. It could be a small study that you want to conduct to practice your methods and what you're learning in your coursework. But in many cases, it does serve as kind of like a trial run for the study that you anticipate conducting in your dissertation. And so again, it's an opportunity to get some feedback from faculty, to test run some research protocols and methodologies. Most often, in many cases, the research component ends up being a paper that you present at a conference or you send out for publication. That's really the kind of the genre that we're shooting for in the research component as you write up a small study. And then after stage two, once you've kind of passed that benchmark, you're a doctoral candidate. You're done with coursework. The only thing left for you to do is to conduct your dissertation. And at this stage, you're going to work closely with your advisor to identify what your research project is, and you're going to propose that formally in front of your committee for their feedback. And then you're going to conduct your research and write up your dissertation with the support of your advisor and your doctoral committee. And so this is just more of like an elaboration on what I just shared. There's more details in our handbook, which it's currently being revised, but we can answer more questions about this. I think the big piece here is to think about like stage one and stage two, kind of if you wanted to plan out like a 4-year plan for your program, stage 1 and 2 are going to happen probably in like the first 2 years, and then the dissertation is going to take about 1.5 years, 2 years. So they're not necessarily sequentially even, if that makes sense. Again, more on these. I think I over explained in the earlier slide on what these milestones are. So here's what the products look like for the research analysis exam. Is this 20 to 25 page critique paper. It's a formative conversation with your advisor, and it gives us an opportunity to understand how you're engaging in the research literature. And what our research analysis exam involves is we assign you an article, and it's typically an article that you may have not read, but you're familiar enough with the body of research that it relates to, that you'll be able to offer up a critique of it, and not necessarily like what's wrong with the study, but also like some of the things, the ways that it can be extended and broadened. And so yeah, that's the genre there. And so you can also think about this as an apprenticeship to peer review, where these are the kind of ways of writing about and ways of engaging in critique of each other's work that you would be expected to do if you were reviewing for a journal. And then again, the research component, the genre there that you produce is this conference paper, this publication that you can send out that writes up the results of a pilot study or a small scale research project. So that something to think about early in your coursework is, you know, the dissertation committee, your assigned advisor, as well as the other members of your committee. It's really about relationships that you build with them. And so there's opportunities to build those relationships within your coursework. There's oftentimes, I should say, opportunities to engage in faculty's research through, you know, opportunities for working on grants and that kind of thing. And so this is what you want to be thinking about early in terms of who do I gravitate towards, either my interests or my you know, my style, you know, people I'm comfortable working with, and folks that are going to support you. And so early in the process, you're going to be working with your advisor, but then around the research component phase, you're going to be identifying a second person to join your committee, and your advisor will be able to help you choose. And then you'll bring on a third person for your dissertation committee. So I think we're going to pause it there and open it up for question and answer.